Hello there, welcome back. Today I'm talking about the films made from the books of Michael Crichton. I thought I'd do a fun one after the, you know, what I've just done, the three films I've just done. I thought it'd be fun to do something a bit more pulpy than what I've been talking about, but still there's something to talk about. Michael Crichton was a popular writer. He died like 10 years ago or something. He was popular for a long time, from the 70s onwards till about the mid 2000s really. He wrote a lot of books, some good, some not so good, some really popular, some that fell away and no one really paid attention to them. It just depends. It's like any career, it was up and down. And of course most of his films were adapted into, most of his books were adapted into films. I'm going to cover a few of them. I'm going to mention the rest, so it's kind of a decent coverage. But the three I'm going to focus on are Andromeda Strain, Sphere and Congo, because I think they represent the three kind of levels of success or lack of success of the Crichton adaptations. He wrote a few original screenplays, directed a few films as well. Like he wrote the original Westworld and directed it. That wasn't a novel, it was just he wrote it. He wrote Twister, original version of Twister. Okay, so basically he had a varied career. He did a couple of like books that no one read, and then he hit the big time with Andromeda Strain, which became a film, and then he became more known for jumping between films and books, and so he'd write books, became films, and he would interact with the film industry until he got burnt out with that and just went back to writing books. And then from like the mid 80s onwards, he was essentially a book writer whose films were adapted into film, whose books were adapted into films. So yeah, I'm making a mess of this. So Crichton did a lot of work. A lot of it was very sci-fi focused, like based on like the ideas of technology with a mock. That was one of his big things. And then in the 90s he became more interested in, you know, society and things, but in his own very sci-fi-ish way, so it was never quite as good as it could have been. It was like someone tried to do something that they weren't particularly great at. So some of his novels from the 90s onwards weren't as strong as the elder stuff. So hopefully I've given you a rough idea of his career. The films themselves kind of varied a lot. There were some real big hits and there were some real disasters. And some of the ones that were bigger disasters were stuff that Crichton was heavily involved with. I'll try and cover everything briefly first, and I'll try and go into detail about the three that I'll cover in more detail. I've already covered 13th Warrior and a Beautiful Disaster series, so you can go to that video and see what I think of that. I love it. So, but I think it's a good video, so I'd recommend going there. The Jurassic Parks are easy to see. There's now like 5 films in the series now, so I mean there was the first 3 Jurassic Parks and there's 2 Jurassic Worlds. None of them have actually been much like the books. I mean there's 2 books, one, the original book, it was good fun, and then the second one that was less good. And they've taken bits and bobs from both novels over the time. Spielberg adapted both of them but took a lot out. Jurassic World, the first Jurassic World, took stuff from the book Jurassic Park, because in Jurassic Park, the book, the park was bigger and was more advanced than there was in the original Spielberg film, because it was toned down for budget and for what they could do at the time and just for like suspense mechanisms. All those films, the first 3 are fun. I mean, I like the book better than any of the films, but the first three the Jurassic Park films are good fun. I mean, they're silly, they're pulpy B movies, that's all they are, they know they're that. I mean, Spielberg got a bit pompous in the first two with science lessons and stuff, but it was still enjoyable, it was still silly, and basically they were basically there for the dinosaurs attacking. And because you had good craftsmen like Spielberg or Joe Johnston did the third one, you had some good action scenes, they were well paced. They didn't, I mean, Jurassic Park 3 is pretty short actually, it's 90 minutes. And they're enjoyable, the plots aren't anything to write home about, they're not the most brilliantly written films, but they're about dinosaurs eating humans, and there's some good sequences in them. And that's all they're about, really. They're not really about ideas. The Jurassic World films are bloody awful. They're big hits, but they're not good. I did a video about how stupid is Jurassic World. Like one of my first ones I did. It's embarrassingly bad, so if you want a good laugh, you can go see that. Jurassic World 2 Fallen Kingdom is better directing than any right to be, because J.A. Belger directed it, and he did a good job of direction, but the script was so stupid that there was only so much you could do with that. They've threatened a third one, apparently the third one's about to start shooting, and oh god. This is a series that's going way downhill. It's not good. It's really not good now. But I enjoyed it when it was the Jurassic Park movies. They were just, I like dinosaurs, so I've always liked dinosaurs. I'm happy to watch a dinosaur movie anytime. You know, so I'll watch Jurassic Park's fine. Even though the characters aren't that great, but they're still enjoyable. So that's Jurassic Park's the big one, that's the big success. Westworld spawned a new TV show, Westworld, which was a big success as well. It was also a film that had legs, it had a sequel, Future World. The sequel was actually okay, but it's not as good as the first one. And now the TV show is doing well, it's quite interesting, it's quite ambitious. It's a bit overlong a lot of the time, but it's dragged sometimes, but there's also some really good scenes in it, so it's a good sci-fi show, and it takes a lot over the strengths of Crichton, which were how does technology evolve and how does human beings deal with it well or badly and all of that. So it's very kind of loyal to the Crichton ideas, but also it's his own thing. But it's definitely worth seeing, the TV show. 13th Warrior was a massive bomb, but it did well. There have been other ones that have been successful, really. I mean, Terminal Man's an underrated film. Mick Hodge did that not long after Get Carter. It's a good film, it's a solid film. It's not that much like the book, I don't remember it being that much like the book. Cause I read a lot of Crichton books when I was a teenager, and I remember enjoying Terminal Man and reading the book, and it felt different, but both felt like they were good in their own way. It's like you didn't need one for the other, they were both kind of interesting. It's about a guy who gets computer implants in his brain and how it starts to affect him. So it's the whole idea of how does technology affect your brain. It's definitely worth reading the books, definitely worth seeing the film. They're both good. Probably dated now, but they're still enjoyable sci-fi from the 70s, you know. If you know the 70s sci-fi, you know what you're getting, and these are a good example of it. So they were good. The Andromeda Strain is another really successful one. That's like the reason I'm covering it is it's probably the strongest Crichton adaptation, I think. It's better than Jurassic Park. It's even better than 13th Warrior, which I'm very loyal to 13th Warrior. I really am. You may have noticed I mention it quite a lot. But yeah, Andromeda Strain is objectively the best Crichton adaptation, and it's the first one, and it never got as good as that again. Robert Wise directed it. It stars a lot of like actors from TV who were never really big in films after this. They were kind of hired because they were TV actors who were anonymous, could be put into the film, and they wouldn't dominate, they wouldn't have movie star text, because it was meant to be scientists who were trying to solve a problem. But there were people who were so focused on their problem, and the craftsmanship of being scientists, that they hadn't developed massive personalities. So they cast TV actors, and it really worked. I mean, the idea is you're never that close to any characters, but you like them well enough. But they're all subservient to the actual crisis, which is satellite has come down in the wrong area. It landed in a town. Everyone in the town, apart from 2 people, died instantly. A few people went mad, then died by committing suicide, but 2 people survived. And why did they survive? And all this infection spread in the wind and caused mass deaths, and they have 72 hours to solve the problem. And the whole idea is A, solve the problem, and B, well, they've come up with all these solutions to what you have to do when you deal with like a potential alien biological threat. So all these safeguards, and it becomes a case of, are these safeguards a good thing, or can things go wrong that will cause them to cause you trouble? And of course things go wrong. There's a lot of human error involved, and everyone in them is working out the end, but only just. And it's a wonderful film because it takes science seriously, and science is the star. And the problem is both figuring out what the issue is, and the biological problem has a simple solution, and figuring out if your methods of self-protection are paranoid and causing you problems, which it does. And it's the idea of human beings who can complicate things in a way that is a problem for them. It is like counterproductive. So it's a wonderful film. It's really well done. And again, because there's no one star, you have each character having an area of expertise that they're trying to solve. So it doesn't mean you don't have something like, well, you get in a lot of modern films where a character seems to know a lot about everything, and it's unrealistic. This one, someone knows a lot about one thing, someone knows a lot about another thing, but they don't know, they know enough about each other's subject area, but they're not experts, you know. So, and that makes it feel much more realistic. So Andromeda Strain is terrific. It's well directed by Robert Wise, who has good days and bad days as director. Let's be honest, he's had some really good films and some really trashy films. He's very dependent on the material he's got. He does a lot of adaptations of books, and he can, if he's got a good material and he's got a good team together, he can do a really good film. And if he doesn't, he can do a professional film but lacks passion. So in this one he's got a really good material, and he's really got a cast that's right for it, and he's crafted it all together. This along with The Haunting are 2 of my favourite of his films, because his personality doesn't improve in these films, but he's there and he's important to the film because you need a craftsmanship. I mean, he was brought up in Val Lewton films. He was editors in them, and then became a director in them, and he learned a lot of craftsmanship from that in Orson Welles, and so he's always a good craftsman. But sometimes he would choose bad projects, but this was not one of those times. So Andromeda Strain is wonderful. Crichton also, you get the middle ground films. You know, the films that were, I would categorize as a sphere, where you had a film with lots of good elements, but lots of bad elements too, that would make for an enjoyable, unsatisfying film in some ways. It was half there, and you think, I wish they'd just fidgeted with it a bit more and got it right. I mean, in that category, I would say like Rising Sun's another one where there's some good elements, but it hasn't been put together properly. And there's Disclosure, which is his thing about sexual harassment in the workplace, and of course very timely now, yeah, and things like that, where there were some good ideas where in Disclosure the sexual harassment case was actually all about hiding information that was actually about a sale or something like that. It was like a red herring, which is a good idea, but in the film was fun, but at the end of the day you just went and shrugged that there was more there's better films with a subject, like Oleana or something. There's better subjects. It's like, it was almost like two plots shoved together, and neither one was that satisfying. I read in the book was the same way. It was like, you never quite figured this out. It just never really worked. And they hired Barry Levinson to direct, and he did a good enough job. Rising Sun was about Japan in the 80s, and it was in the perceived threat of Japan in the 80s. Now it's the Chinese. You know, there's always somebody the Americans are threatened by, you know. And at that point it was Japan, and this is a paranoid film, and a paranoid book about what Japan up to and all the rest of it, and all the it's very xenophobic. Let's be honest. It really was paranoid. When you find out Japan's actual problems, it looks really absurd. But as a film, it's actually kind of enjoyable. I kind of like the film, even though it's got a lot of problems. Mainly, they had Phil Kaufman direct it, and he's a much more sophisticated director than some of the other directors who did Crichton novels. So he could see there was a problem with the film, with the story, and he tried to make it much more ambiguous about everything. In his version, the Japanese were just another culture that were coming into America, and the whole idea was, well, if you don't want to sell to Japanese companies, don't, you know. And the whole idea was, it was two culture clashing, and the idea was Japan was coming in and having like unfair trade practices, which now you hear about with China, so it never changes, and you never quite know who's right and who's wrong. But obviously, in the case of Japan ended up with a lot of financial problems in the 90s, so these films looked kind of dated very quickly. But it's still an enjoyable film because it's a murder mystery, and Phil Kaufman's a good craftsman, so we managed to craft some nice sequences. But it's, yeah, I mean, and Daisuke Beppu pointed out something about this a while ago, one of his videos, but it was like, he wasn't so keen on it, because I think if he's Japanese, it will come across as kind of racist, you know. Because there is kind of weirdness to it, but I think the film itself did try and like tone everything down and make everything a bit more complicated, and point out a lot of Americans' negligence was causing half the problems, and it was suggesting the future wouldn't be as apocalyptic as the book suggesting it was. And you did a lot of stuff about digital technology and changing people's faces and digital images to frame people and stuff like that, and how companies could... Their bottom line was more important than any kind of justice, and they were going to protect that and protect their mergers above all else, which is very timely today. That feels very timely. And companies with different cultural viewpoints faced off against each other is very timely as well now. It's just, I think, the source material was a bit paranoid. I think the film, if they did a slightly stronger bit of source material, could have gone at the situation in a more nuanced way. But I think the good thing about Crichton is very direct, very clear. The bad thing is sometimes you direct and clear with something that is more complicated, and it becomes very simplistic, and that's the problem with Rising Sun. It's an enjoyable read, it's an enjoyable film, but it's also, you come away from it thinking, that's not nuanced, like at all. And yeah, I would hate to be a Japanese person seeing this, because it's like, you know, if you're British, you see the British always viewed as the villains, but really if you're Scottish, it means it's usually the English are viewed as the villains, so it's kind of funny. But there is a kind of a problem when you stereotype someone to be the villain, especially with the whole race. It's almost, that's the definition of racism, defining them by the race, and it's like, that's not a good thing. So Crichton had that kind of problem with some of these, you know, books that were trying to be more complicated than they really were. Sphere was the weirdest one for me. Sphere, because I read the book when it came out in like the late 80s. I read it in paperback when it first came out in paperback, and I really enjoyed it. It was one of those books I wanted to see as made as a film, because you could see there's a lot of potential here. And the film came out, Barry Levinson directed it again after doing Disclosure's a big hit, this was not. And it's a really weird film because it's that kind of Crichton middle ground thing where there's lots of good ideas and some bad execution. In this case, it's one of those cases of everything's over-explained. There's lots of, unlike a lot of Crichton adaptations, there's actually good character work here, which is Samuel Jackson, Dustin Hoffman, Sharon Stone, Lee F. Shriver as the kind of leads. And they give them a lot of fun character beats to play. But what it means is the whole film becomes dependent on psychology rather than the sci-fi threat, which was they're underwater, they found a sphere, lots of weird things are happening around them. And the film's so hammy about the idea of that it all comes from people's minds. They tell you, more or less tell you that straight away, and it becomes like, well, I know what's going on now. So I know, because you've over-explained everything early. So there's no real tension, so all these things are happening and the tension's sort of dissipating. It's one of those weird films that I have a problem with because I've read the book and I know, and one of those things when you read a book, somebody can imagine how it should be done, and you can see it be done a lot simpler and more effective. Like this was like basically a B-movie idea. If you'd got someone really good come in who was a B-movie director like a Don Siegel or something, if it had been written in his era, it would have been a nice little film. It would have been clicked along. You look at something like Charlie Varick, they do lots of nice character stuff, but also just tension. And this thing, they focus so much on the character stuff that the suspense beats are just not there because Barry Levinson's not a suspense director. And it worked fine in Disclosure because Disclosure was more about the characters and the secondary plot about industrial espionage wasn't as important anyway, so it didn't matter so much that his weaknesses were there. In this one it became really important, and that's the problem with adaptation. Sometimes you've got a director who's good at one thing but he's bad at something else, and that something else in this case was the main thing people were going to see the film, which was the suspense of being underwater, things are going crazy, what's going on. And when you tell someone what's going on early on, or you hint at it in such a hammy way that there's no other explanation, so lots of things happen, you're like, so? You know, there's no suspense because you knew what was going on early. But the whole idea of being below water and dealing with something that's actually your psychological problems could have been developed in fascinating ways, and it wasn't. It stuck so close to the book, but the book was written to be a suspenser. They took away the suspense and then did nothing else to go with because there was no developments like in this story that would, if you'd said, okay, is this all your mind? If they said that halfway through and the second half is them trying to figure out how to not be self-destructive and things, then you'd have something fascinating. Instead it was a suspenser where you're giving away the twist. But it's a film I've seen like 5 times because I really enjoy it, even though there's massive problems in it. It's one of those like guilty pleasure movies for me. And that's what a lot of Crichton movies are for me. I really enjoy them, even if they're not very good. I will still watch them way too many times. It's like I was a fan of his books when I was a teenager, and I still have that nostalgia for his books and his style of doing things. So, and he's fascinated by some things I'm fascinated by. So I keep going back to certain things that you really shouldn't go back to. or for books or films that are a problem, but you still are seeing them a lot. So yeah, so that's the middle ground messy Crichton adaptations. None of the trash. The trash is much more fun than the middle ground ones because there's a lot of trash. I mean, 13th War in some ways is trash, but in other ways it's some of the best stuff in the Crichton adaptations. Like, it was hacked a bit by Crichton himself, and in some ways destroyed because it was shot for a PG-13 rating, then it became an R-rated film, and they kept adding take away stuff and changed everything around and cutting bits and bobs, and he messed it all up, but still, because it was so well directed, it still survived all that. Most of the films did not survive. So my example of this one's Congo, which is one of the most wonderfully daft films you'll ever see. It's utter slop. Frank Marshall directed it. He Spielberg's producer. But he also made Arachnophobia, which is a wonderful little killer spider movie from the 90s with Jeff Daniels. And then he made Alive, which was a kind of so-so cannibalism movie about a rugby team that plane crashes in the Andes and they have to end up eating each other to survive. Great idea, but the film wasn't as good as it should have been. And he made this. This was meant to be the follow-up to Jurassic Park. Same team as Jurassic Park. Should have been a big hit. Was not. When the reviews came out, it was like, this is a howler. This is just so bad. And it is, but it's not. It's wonderfully bad. It's just everything's wrong. I mean, the problem is they're based on a book, Congo, which has been out since the 80s. This was during Crichton's big sci-fi era when he was still doing the sci-fi stuff before he went on to the social stuff. Because he was doing sci-fi all the way up to Jurassic Park, really. Jurassic Park stuff. And this was one of his sci-fi, this is one of his smaller sci-fi books that came out, people saw it, but no one's that interested. Brian De Palma was attached apparently for a while in the 80s, then it never went anywhere. And it just came and went, and I read the book, and the book is as trashy as a film, actually. It's trashy in different ways, but it's one of those books that is kind of this material where nothing really kind of fits together, and the film doesn't really fit together, so it was like, why'd you adapt the book? The book didn't fit together. And the film's the same way, but it's got lots of bad writing in it. I mean, the lead character is this guy who trains chimpanzees, and he ends up trying to take her back home. His chimpanzee's going a bit crazy because she's been out of the wild for too long. He's trying to take her home. He ends up getting involved with all these different people who are trying to use him taking her home to get into the Congo so they can try and find this mine which is full of diamonds. Yeah, it sounds really stupid, right? And you can through like civil wars and all this other stuff. And there's lots of stuff that happen and it should be interesting, but nothing's kind of motivated. Everything's just, the plot's just thrown at you like crazy, and there's no, even though this guy's a central character, he's a very weak character, he's not interested in any way, you don't care. And it feels like the film's edited around that he should have been an identification character and he's not, so you just have lots of plots thrown at him. And people are just thrown in straight away, and it just never, there's no like central character that's been developed properly, so you're just watching people act against each other in very kind of dull ways. So whenever there's people talking, it's kind of boring, unless you've got one of the supporting characters. Like Tim Curry is this guy who's trying to find a lost city, he's a total scumbag. You've Emily Hudson is a mercenary that it leads them through the jungle into this lost city. Laura Linney plays the female lead, and she's trying to find the diamond because her ex-fiance was lost there, and she's trying to find him. They're all terrific. They're all having fun. Kind of camping up. With Tim Curry's camping up. The other actors are enjoyably knowing what film they're in. They're in a trash film. And they play straight enough, but they're also playing it with a bit of a twinkle. You know, they know what film they're in. They know this is stupid. They can't come out and say this is stupid, but they know they're in a stupid film. And it's just so enjoyable. And because the lead actor doesn't work, it just sets on this whole problem of you're never really following that main storyline, but you're enjoying the kind of campy weirdness of it all, and this plot that doesn't quite cut together at all, and all these sequences that don't really cut together. But it's wonderfully bizarre. It's one of those films that people with talent made this mess. So you can see little bits and bobs of talent throughout, and there's everyone that had lots of good people in every department. Like the editor's well known, everyone's well known in this film, but it's still based in utter trash. Yeah, I've seen this film way too many times too. Yeah, so that's the best of the trashy Crichton stuff. I'm not sure if it's a producer or not now, and it probably was, but they were expecting another Jurassic Park and they did not get it, and that led to other stuff like Sphere and stuff and Dirty War before the whole thing collapsed. And people realised you couldn't just put Michael Crichton's name on it and it would actually sell. You had to be a good film too. There are other stuff there like Timeline, which was based on a really bad Crichton novel, one of his later ones, which time travel going back to the Middle Ages, which should have been a good idea, but it wasn't. The book was pretty boring. The film was atrocious. Paul Walker was in it, Gerard Butler was in it. It was just boring. Richard Donner directed it. This was just... It was one of those films where you felt that people kind of knew they were on something that wasn't working, and it was just... Everyone, I did feel everyone knew they were in a mess. There was no way around it. They were in a mess. That kind of feel to the film, but it's not crazy enjoyable like Congo is. It's just a kind of dull, messy movie that doesn't quite deliver. I'm trying to think if there's any other ones I'm missing. I think I've kind of covered most of the big ones. Crichton did do The Great Train Robbery, which was based on his book. He directed this himself. This is probably his best film. Sean Connery stars in it, and it's basically a period movie about of the first train robbery. And Donald Sutherland's in it. It's a really enjoyable film. It's probably Crichton's best film as a director. I mean, Westworld was a bigger hit, but this was probably the best film he did as a director. It's really enjoyable. Connery's cast well as a lead. It's one of those really enjoyable films that you'd watch on a Sunday afternoon and really enjoy, and then not watch for 3 or 4 years and watch it again. It's that kind of film. It doesn't stand out, but it's enjoyable. It's really enjoyable. It's probably the best way to leave it, because it is a kind of highlight of Crichton as a director and highlight of Crichton as a writer, that one. And it's much more like what he seemed to be about when he's at his best, which was the kind of weird details of these kind of professionals and things going right, things going wrong, people trying to survive. And you get that in some of the best films, and in the worst films the situations wouldn't be as good, so it would be these little kind of cliches trying to survive and there was no suspense, but it was kind of campy and weird. That's kind of good Crichton versus bad Crichton, so it just depends what you're going to get. Crichton directed a couple of other films like Runaway with Tom Selleck, and I think there was one or two other ones, but he did Coma, which wasn't based on his book. So he did have a career where he did have a couple of hits, but he more or less, I think he kind of figured the director wasn't really for him because he was a kind of pedestrian director. Like when you look at something like even Great Train Robbery, First Great Train Robbery versus something like Andromeda Strain or Jurassic Park, First Jurassic Park, you can tell the difference in direction. It's just the style. Even Rising Sun, which had more problems, you still see it's done by a much better director than Crichton could do. So I hope you enjoyed this. I didn't want to do something too in depth. I thought this would be fun to talk about the Crichton Adaptations as a little, palate cleanser after the Holocaust and Joan of Arc. So I'll see you tomorrow for another video. Right, bye.